That's right. You're listening to another episode of the Co-Main Event Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. I'm Chad Dundas. That's Ben Folks. We're both longtime MMA journalists, and for the last 13 years, we've been meeting here every week to break down all the action in the wild, weird, and occasionally wonderful world of mixed martial arts. And Ben, we had a little bit of everything over the weekend in the world of combat sports. There's a little bit of wild, a little bit of weird, maybe even a little bit of woolly. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Very,
I mean, look, when Misfits puts on one of their boxing event kind of things, they don't get out of there without getting a little bit woolly.
yeah,
You know?
very, very little of the weekend's action actually had to do with MMA, but I suppose that's the world we're living in the year of our Lord 2025 when the UFC does not have an event. You mentioned Misfits Boxing. Darren Till damn near folded Luke Rockhold in half backwards in the main event of Misfits Boxing. Tony Ferguson finally got a win, albeit over somebody named the Salt Poppy. So I don't know how relevant you can consider that.
But
Craig,
hey, you thought it was going to be Salt Bay.
I did, yeah.
The celebrity chef who had a moment, who had a real moment. Didn't
that
last
was the
terribly
thing.
long.
That was the thing, like right at the beginning when that fight got signed, people were like, oh, Tony Ferguson is going to lose to the Salt Poppy. And it only shows my own ignorance about this world of influencers, because I thought we were talking about the Salt Bay.
Yeah.
Which I feel like you can understand how I would make that mistake. Yeah, that guy does that thing with the salt. Yeah. And I'm sitting at home thinking there's no way, even on his worst day, even as reduced as he is, Tony Ferguson going to go out and lose to this chef whose main thing is throwing salt on stuff. And
you
then
were like,
come to
that
find
guy don't
out,
have hands. Salt Bay don't have hands. He just got the salty fingers.
Come to find out, we're talking about a totally different Salt guy, Salt Poppy, who actually did have some boxing experience or something of that nature, and couldn't stop Tony Ferguson though. Tony Ferguson going to come out here and get some manner a win over the Salt Poppy. So good for him. I was going to bring this up also. Craig Jones pretty much wore Chael Sonnen around like a hat out there at CJI. What is it? CJI 2? Is that what it was? Then you had the Biggie Boy knocked out some poor son of a bitch over in Dirty Boxing. He won the giant square belt.
Yeah, the oven door belt. He got that oven door belt.
I saw you refer to it as the oven door belt on Twitter, and I was like, that's actually pretty good. We were trying to figure out last week what we should call the thing, and I was like, it kind of looks like a Halliburton briefcase. I feel like the oven door belt is pretty good. Pizza box kind of looks like you're wearing a pizza. It looks like if you were at a frat house in the 90s and your friends were trying to make like a championship belt. You're all sitting around watching pro wrestling and somebody grabs a Domino's pizza box. Like that's kind of what the Dirty Boxing belt looks like. But now it belongs to the Biggie Boy.
Isn't that kind of genius though of them? Because it's like, you don't want to, this is my advice to anybody trying to do any sort of upstart combat sports promotion of any kind. The last thing you want to appear to be is like the successful stuff, but less so. If you're going to be a competitor coming in at this stage of the game and you're pretty new, your thing has to be, we're fucking weird, man. We're weird in one of a number of different ways. Like we're doing a kind of a different thing altogether. And the Dirty Boxing is doing that kind of just like with their whole setup, their whole approach. And so you don't want to come out here with another one of these belts that look like you went and found, the replicas from some organization that went out of business 10 years ago. Like you don't want it to just be like, hey, it looks like all the other championship belts, except nobody gives a shit. Come out with something fucking weird. Grab the oven door off this motherfucker, put some straps on it, and then put it around the guy's waist. Something. I think that's the only way to do it now. If you're trying to find a little niche in here in the combat sports world, you got to be like, hey, this is the type of weirdos we are. Do you like that type of weirdos? Are you maybe willing to give those type of weirdos a chance? Then get on over here. And that's as good as you can do.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. As we've talked about going back years now, that if you're running some manner of rival combat sports promotion, the last thing you want to do is look like a slightly shittier version of the UFC. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you gotta do something different. You gotta give us something. I just was not prepared for the pizza box belt. Like, I know we're doing something different, something distinctive over there in Dirty Boxing. And as you know, I follow Dirty Boxing on Instagram. So I am
You've
as
been down
in
since day one. You were an early adopter.
Yeah. So I'm as into Dirty Boxing as a guy could possibly be. I'm
I also
following them on
love
Instagram.
Biggie Boy is not a small human being. And
No.
so when you see it on him, you're like, damn, this thing, it takes up like half the guy's fucking torso. That's a substantial belt. That is not a belt you're going to be able to just put in your carry-on the way home. That's a belt that you're going to need some checked luggage for
Yeah.
that thing.
No, you can't put that on a flyweight. Their eyes would be peeking out the top of it like a damn Jack in the Box. Can't do that. All right. I know we got some listener mail questions to get to later in the show about particularly about Luke Rockhold and Darren Till. So we'll get to that eventually. We do have a UFC this weekend though, so I wanted to open up talking about this. The middleweight division, I feel like it's suddenly full of intrigue and possibility as Khamzat Chimaev has finally ascended to the throne, just absolutely boat raced Dricus du Plessis back at UFC 319. Now suddenly, it feels very sudden that we have a couple of high stakes contender matchups coming up during the next month or two. The first one goes down this weekend. Nasruddin Imavov and Caio Bahalo going down over there in Paris at the UFC, a fight night. Ben, I think we're down to single digit numbers of fight nights left on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, we're closing in on it, and in fairness, we are kind of getting out on the road this fall for a whole lot. I think only have maybe 2 or 3 Apex ones left. Like at least, on ESPN in this era. I'm sure we'll find a way to be on the Apex once we move over there to Paramount. But going over there to Paris at Accor Arena, and then after that, San Antonio, Australia, the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas for UFC 320, and then Rio, Vancouver, Abu Dhabi. Like, it must be a time of year when people are willing to pay you site fees more often, because we're getting out there, we're doing some stuff. And this one has the feel of one that, as you said, legitimately matters in a division that feels newly interesting. Doesn't it also feel, though, if you're the big homie Nasruddin Imavov, man, motherfuckers wish you would mess around and lose a fight, because they are looking for a way to kind of scoot you out of there so they can get to contenders people care more about, just remember more. They're looking for an excuse to not give you a title shot. You got to not give it to them, man.
We have joked about this, right? At the expense of Nasruddin Imavov. He is, or at least last I looked, these are malleable. The UFC rankings are a living document. Sometimes they change without warning and without reason or cause. But the last I looked, Nasruddin Imavov was the number 1 contender. He was ranked number 1. He might have dropped to number 2 because, when the champ loses, we like to bump the champ down to number 1, even though that's kind of counterproductive.
That is an accurate assessment of what's happening right now as I'm looking at it. DDP is number 1, Nasruddin Imavov number 2. You want to guess who's number 3?
Robert Whittaker. Israel Adesanya. Who?
Fucking Sean Strickland.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
My man's suspended. As last I heard, he got to take them anger management classes.
That's right. Yeah. No, he's still hanging around at number 3, huh?
And we expect a full report from Sean Strickland on how those anger management classes go.
You will get a full report on Sean Strickland's experiences at anger management while he is sitting in the front seat of his 2012 Jetta or whatever it is, filming an Instagram live. That's where you'll hear about it. Talking about how bullshit it is to go in there and talk about his feelings.
He's making that money. He's in the Raptor these days, but he will be in the front seat recording it right outside.
He's in the parking lot. There's no way he even drives home before he starts giving us his thoughts.
Well, he wants to get it to you while it's fresh. He don't want to forget anything.
Top of mind. Yeah, it's got to be top of mind for Sean Strickland. Nasruddin Imavov, we have joked about him in recent weeks, was the number 1 contender. Now he's number 2. and yet it feels like no one cares about him. We would much rather talk about Anthony Hernandez and Ranier de Ritter going down next month. We would much rather talk about the Fighting Nerds. Kaio Bahalo. We'd rather talk about those guys. Aside from his loss to Sean Strickland in 2023, Nasruddin Imavov has 7 wins. He's 7-1-1. He has the no contest against Chris Curtis in June of 2023. Accidental clash of heads. Other than that, this man has not lost since 2021. He's stopping people occasionally. He's got 2 TKOs in his last 4 wins. He just TKO'd Israel Adesanya in February, and nobody cares. Like, normally, if we're matchmakers in the UFC or fans, we find out a guys from Dagestan. Shit, we couldn't get enough guys with beards and no mustaches in this sport, right? You find out you're from Dagestan, we draw a little heart around your name. Well, here we got Nasruddin Imavov. Nobody gives a shit. Why?
He doesn't stick in the memory for some reason. Something about him seems very forgettable until you see him back in there. Then you go, oh yeah, this guy, he's pretty good. This guy's pretty good. And that's a tough place to be. That's kind of not dissimilar to where Arman Sarukian is over there in the lightweight division, where you're just kind of like, you're looking around, you're going like, if he doesn't have a fight booked this weekend, if he's not sitting there in front of you, he doesn't even rise to your awareness. That seems like a problem, though, that should be fixable. And we've, as here at CME Consulting Services LLC, we have helped people with this problem before. Now, a lot of people, the first solution they're going to go with, hat, signature hat. I don't know if that's going to do it for your boy Nasruddin Imavov. I mean, maybe like old-timey fireman's hat, something like that. I don't know where we'd go with it from there. Miner's hat with a little light, click, click. Maybe it's like he shows up wearing the miner's hat and it's the lights on, and then it's like right before he gets in the cage, last thing he does, click the light off. He about to go lights out on you. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. There's no bad ideas in the brainstorm, Chad. Just throwing some stuff around.
What if we just shaved the mustache? So we just had the big beard. We had the classic.
I don't know if that's
Dagestani beard.
It's been done, my man. It's been done.
But it seems effective. Like sometimes that's all we need to see, right?
He needs something more radical than that. Big snake. He carries around a big snake.
That would work. Full Jake the Snake Roberts.
Or how about this? There is a raven that perches on his shoulder. And it goes everywhere with him. The raven lets out a series of caws. And Imavov seems to understand what it is saying. Imavov and Imavov alone, and he refuses to explain it to anybody.
Well, are you going to get Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on the call, so one of them can be like, he's talking to the Raven. He's talking to the Raven right now, Cole. Just like that, because you're gonna have to. We're treading on a certain territory here.
Well, the Raven rides down to the cage on his shoulder. Right before he enters the Harley Davidson prep point or whatever it is we're calling it now, he's dapping up his coaches and everything. Right before he steps up to get Dan Miragliotta to check his fingernails and then to put some Vaseline on his face, he gives the Raven a kiss on the beak, and the Raven flies off. We don't see where the Raven goes. It flies off into the arena darkness of the rafters up there somewhere. We don't know where the Raven is. The Raven, however, may return at points during the fight. Like if there's a tough moment or something, he gets taken down, he's stuck on bottom. The Raven flies, perches on his coach's shoulder in the corner. He gets up. he problem solved. And then the Raven flies back out. And then it's like after he wins, when he's standing in the cage waiting for them to say his name, he's standing there, referee holding onto his wrist. Raven flies back down, right back on the shoulder. I can see by your face you're really into this idea.
I know. I was just letting you go. You were off on an extended fantasy, and I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted you to get all your Raven thoughts out.
I mean, if you become the Raven guy, yeah, we're going to remember who you are. We're not going to have the problem of being like, Nasruddin Imavov, which one is he again? No, you're the fucking Raven guy, man.
Nasruddin the Raven Imavov or Nasruddin the Raven guy?
See, I think it would be a kind of thing where he can't change his name to the Raven and go around with the like that's too much on the nose. He needs other people to refer to him as the Raven guy. He can act like, I don't know, that's just something the fans do. That has nothing to do with me. He should obviously refuse to answer questions about the Raven. In fact, he should probably insist he's always had this Raven and you guys just didn't notice it before. Like an obvious lie, something like that, something provably false, and just double down on it.
You know who doesn't have this problem is Kyle Bahalo.
It's true.
You go out there in a pair of distinctive glasses with the words "free spirit" tattooed on your fucking throat.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to remember who you are. We're going to remember you, especially if you are stringing together like something like 8 wins in the UFC. This guy's, I think he's 17. You find out here 17-1-1 overall, undefeated since his second pro fight back in 2015, undefeated in the UFC since 2022. We remember you. We remember Kyle Bahalo because he's got some distinctive tattoos and he's one of these nerds. He's one of these nerds who likes to fight.
And you know what? I don't know him very well or anything. He does seem like a free spirit, though.
They all kind of do, don't they?
Well,
from that team?
I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anybody who's too repressed on that team, if that's what you're saying. I feel like some of them, like somebody like Jean Silva, he's a free spirit in the sense that Charles Manson was a free spirit, like that. It's like a menacing kind of free spirit. Caio Borralho seems like one of these guys where, maybe he's just such a guy who only moves to music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like a fun free spirit.
Well, they're probably going to have a pretty fun fight, I would think. These two guys, it'll be entertaining bout for them from what we expect from both of them. Winner might have a good shot at the number 1 contender status. Although now that you got Khamzat as the champ, I feel like all of a sudden we're looking at Ronnie de Ritter and Anthony Hernandez as potentially the 2 most interesting matchups, right? That we could make right off the top of the head right now, because both those guys, good grapplers, could potentially have the skills to make life interesting for Khamzat Chimaev. So you would think that their fight, which I believe is in October, the winner of that might well have the inside track to number 1 contender status. But as everybody knows, it's kind of a what have you done for me lately sport these days. If one of these 2 guys on Saturday goes out and gets a thunderous and memorable knockout, especially if it's Bahalo, they'd have you could make a case, I think, that they should be the number 1 contender, especially if de Ritter and Hernandez turns out to be boring.
I was a little bit surprised when I looked up the betting odds here, granted early in the week, and it's close, but Borralho is a slight favorite. Looking at about minus 135 on BetMGM, minus 130 on BetRivers. Nasruddin Imavov going off at about plus 110, plus 115.
That does surprise me.
I would have thought it would be about the same, except just in the exact other direction.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's fairly close odds, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that.
I know, and this is something I'm just going to plant in your head, something to think about ahead of Friday's $20 whenever want to do $20 whenever want to see again segment over on the Patreon. Modestas Bukauskas and Paul Craig also on this card. Paul Craig going off as about a 3-1 underdog.
Well, you know what bet we like to jump on with Paul Craig.
Paul Craig via submission.
Yeah, we got odds on that. Is it too early in the week to have odds
Might
on Paul Craig via submission?
might be too early. Well, let's see. Craig by submission, you're looking at about plus 510.
Okay. Now you're speaking my language.
Mhm.
Although I have to tell you, I did have my biggest week of the year this past week with pretty much exclusively college football bets. So it's possible that I have found my path to victory. And it is, in fact, college football, big time college football bets.
I'm very happy for you.
You've lost 15 bets in a row.
I don't know why you need. I mean, it's fine. Talk about
These are
how
just
well you're
facts.
doing.
I'm
That's
saying
okay.
facts.
All of a sudden, you're real interested in facts. Before, you were an analytics guy, finding a way you could crunch the numbers so it looked like you were doing better than you were. Now we're just stone cold facts. I get it.
I'm only dealing in facts, not feelings. Remember, you're listening to the Co-Main Event podcast proper. This show drops every Tuesday afternoon for free in your timelines and your podcast libraries. But if you want even more of the Co-Main Event, you can find Ben Folks and myself all week over on Patreon. Hit us up at patreon.com/co-main event and get loads of extra audio and video content, as well as access to our official Discord message board where they're talking about fights and a lot of other stuff literally all the time. Everybody knows by now we're a completely independent podcast. We don't have the backing of a big parent company or even one of the major MMA websites. We're just two guys talking into microphones. We've been doing it for over a decade. But the truth is we can only keep the magic going with your support. So if you can spare a few dollars in exchange for a little bit more of your attention, please consider joining the Patreon. Patreon.com/co-main event. Another way you can support the show is by going to co-mainevent.com and checking out our merchandise shop. We got hats, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got lots more. Stop by and pick up the best-selling Daddest Man on the Planet coffee mug. While we can keep them in stock, you can get a Dundasso t-shirt or hoodie, a Bobby Nux t-shirt. You can get a Volcomania t-shirt. We got it all. Just go to the website, co-mainevent.com, and click the link at the top of the page that says shop. As always, we partner with our friend Johnny Ashcroft on the shop. He is a graphic designer from Portland, Oregon. We can't recommend him highly enough for all your design needs. Hit him up at studiosuperconductor.com or on Instagram at studiosuperconductor. And right now, like we always do about this time, let's do a little bit of listener mail.
Listener mail.
Where did I put the list? Oh, there it is. Don't worry, I found it. I found the listener mail.
Thank God.
First piece of listener mail this week comes to us from Dan Alexander, who writes in to say, I did the math and ran it by Chat, GPT, Gemini, and Copilot. They all confirmed that Luke Rockhold, Tony Ferguson, Dylan Dennis, and Darren Till are amongst the worst boxers to ever disgrace the squared circle. Please discourse. Now, see, I forgot about Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis actually had a fight. He made it. He made it to the fight. And then he dispatched his opponent in under 30 seconds, right? It's mere seconds it took Dylan Dennis to snatch a victory here.
Who was his opponent?
Dylan Dennis's opponent?
Yeah.
I assume some manner of influencer of some kind. That's
the fact that we don't know. It tells you something, right? I mean, I don't like. I resolved to stop paying attention to Dylan Dennis some time ago, and it has been shockingly easy.
Warren Spencer.
Okay.
Everybody knows Warren Spencer. Dylan Dennis won the inaugural MMA light heavyweight championship.
Tapology informs me that Warren Spencer is known as the Mechanic.
Okay.
Which I can't hate that.
Is that because he will come in and do a job?
Fighting out of the Isle of Man. This, according to Tapology, was his first MMA fight. He's done one pro boxing fight, which he won, and then some exhibition boxing matches. So, okay.
Well, maybe that explains why he wasn't ready to defend the choke, because he he gave that up pretty easily. Did you
His
see?
Twitter lists him as a professional crossover boxer.
Hmm,
He also, you'll be happy to know, has a tweet right at the top that says like about how he stands with Andrew Tate now and
no, Jesus
always.
Christ.
Yeah, so that's what he's doing. He's an Andrew Tate guy.
And he's getting choked out super fucking fast. Did you see the big fella? Was it John Hall? Eddie Hall, the strong man.
Yeah.
He jumped in there and he wants to do the damn thing with Dylan Dennis.
Of course, everybody want to fight Dylan Dennis because they think that he sucks. Uh, I saw it. It was the kind of thing, one of my least favorite kinds of MMA headlines that makes the rounds, where it's just like, this guy willing to do this thing that would be in his obvious interests. And you're like, well, yeah, of course he is. You know, the same way like a bunch of MMA fighters would be like, I am willing to box Canelo Alvarez for $20 million. Like, yeah, I bet you are. I bet you are. So, at that point, you're just sort of one of those people, commenting on a Instagram picture of Sydney Sweeney about how you would make love to her if given the opportunity. Why? Why are we even given that sort of thing credence? I don't know. We're not doing Eddie Hall versus Dylan Dennis.
Can you be sure?
I can be kind of sure.
All right. Would watch. Next question this week comes to us from DL's Hot Balls. BAWLZ, of course. Might as well put this one together with Mysterious or Mike Sterious. Can't totally tell how to pronounce it. Miksterous. Mysterious.
Okay.
DL's Hot Balls says Luke out cold Rockhold. See what he did there?
Mm-hmm.
Was on the bad end of a vicious knockout again since the start of 2018. He's had just 1 win and 5 losses, 4 of which were TKOs or KOs. I was never a fan of Rockhold, so I'll admit I take a little joy in seeing him on such a precipitous fall. But when is enough? How much damage is he going to take before he realizes, or more likely gets convinced by a loved one, that it's not worth the CTE to fight any longer? Mysterious writes, subject line, best body, worst chin in MMA history. And then he writes, it's Rockhold, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess, what do we mean by best body? Are we talking about body you'd want to trade bodies with him if you could, or looks good getting off the bus? Because Bob Sapp was out here looking pretty good getting off the bus, and then was known to take a punch and make a face like he was a child who had just touched a hot stove. Todd Duffy out here looking pretty good getting off the bus, but had a little bit of the chin. If you touch it just right, he might fall down and go to sleep, even if he was winning up until that point. So we've had a lot of that over and over again. I'll tell you though, Luke Rockhold did get folded up like a lawn chair.
Yeah, he really did.
He got dropped with that till left hand first, got up, and maybe they just should not have let it continue past that point. But here's the thing. You're over there fighting in Misfits Boxing. These people paid for a show, goddammit. We're going to see you get up, look a little woozy, see like it takes you a lot of time to get back up to your feet. But they're going to be like, these people paid for a conclusion. We're not waving it off over there. We're letting them go at it, and seeing Mike Perry or Darren Till, just back him into the corner and just absolutely off switch this man. That was a bad one.
I mean, I know that Luke Rockhold is easy to dislike, right?
Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
a little bit
He's worked hard at that.
Dislikable character. I was a little bit surprised at the outpouring of glee, I will say. And maybe it's just because I haven't thought of Luke Rockhold in a long time. But I know that we don't like him, but it seemed like people were very excited to see him get knocked out badly by Darren Till.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this might be one where people would have been very excited to see anybody knocked out.
It could have just as easily been Darren Till. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I'm not saying it could have easily just been Darren Till, like, it went the way it went for a reason, I think, but as far as what people's I don't think it would have been, like, people being like, "Oh, hell yeah, this is rad," when Luke Rockhold gets slept, but if it had been Darren Till who got slept, I don't think people would be like, "This one hurts deep in my soul." I think they would have been like, "LOL, Darren Till." Like, I think that was kind of the appeal of this type of matchup from the beginning, wasn't it? It was just like, these guys, they're both gonna talk an absolute tidal wave of shit to each other beforehand, and then we just hope somebody gets knocked the fuck out at the end, and we're gonna take some satisfaction in that either way. I think that was kind of the selling point of this fight, to the extent that it had one.
This was for the Misfits Boxing Bridgerweight Championship. You ever heard of that before? Bridgerweight, also known as Super Cruiserweight, is a weight class in professional boxing used by the World Boxing Council since 2020 and the World Boxing Association since 2023. The division is for boxers weighing between 200 and 224 pounds. It's named after 6-year-old American Bridger Walker, who saved his 4-year-old sister from a stray dog in 2020.
Okay, I do remember that story. I did not realize we went and named a boxing weight class after that kid. That seems I can't quite say disrespectful, but it seems weird.
Wait, disrespectful to whom? To him, the kid?
Yeah, somehow.
To have
Like,
a boxing weight class named after him?
yeah, kinda. It don't feel right. Something about it don't feel right. Because I understand it's like, hey, we're trying to honor you with this is a tremendous act of bravery. That's also gonna stay with you as a traumatic event, probably in some ways for the rest of your life. How will we remember this? One day, kid, Darren Till and Luke Rockhold. They'll fight
I don't
over.
think they're the first. I don't think this is the first Bridgerweight fight ever to occur.
Just
What do you want? What do you want them to name a sandwich after him at the corner deli?
Maybe we just don't. Maybe I don't. We don't need to be naming shit like this. It's
a dog meat sandwich.
I can't explain why I don't like it, but I don't like it.
What if I told you this was Darren Till's third professional boxing victory of 2025?
Well, I feel like I've watched at least 2 of them, so yeah, I guess that makes sense, right?
Remember when he announced, didn't Darren Till at one point announce a plan to like win? He was basically like, I'm going to win 20 boxing fights in a row, become a champion in 2 weight classes, go back to the UFC, become welterweight and middleweight champion. I feel like he announced just some outlandish plot for himself after he left the UFC.
Now that you say it, yeah, I do remember that, where it was a detailed plan that had many steps over the course of like a half decade, and we went, Darren, come on, man. This in this world, in this sport, you announce what you plan to do 6 months from now seems at times overly ambitious. You know, you announcing what you plan to do, or look like, first I will build a base here, and then I will add to it, and then I will become successful, and then I will take that success and parlay it into a different kind of success. And it was just like, what are we even doing at this point? It started to feel like you're riding in the car with one of your kids, and they're like, if I had $1 million, I would buy a Hot Topic, and then I would be able to give all the stuff in Hot Topic to my friends. And you're just like, sure, have a good time planning that. It doesn't have any relationship to reality.
Next question this week comes to us from Fitch A Tent.
I get it. It's a John Fitch reference.
Yeah, I see what they did there.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ben saw this because his tweet is how I learned about it, but how about that Drake Riggs article on Rusmar Paul Harris over on the Uncrowned? I'm reading along, people talking all kinds of well-earned shit on the old tree stump, and I'm like, well, no way we'll hear from the man himself in a story like this. But then we do. And he says the only thing he regrets is not mangling more legs in his UFC days. Are you fucking kidding me? This, I have to admit, I have not had a chance to read this story yet, although I've seen it. It's been receiving wide praise on the internet. So I do have it. I actually have it open in tabs right now, and I am going to read it. I just haven't been able to do it yet.
It is crazy because I was helping to edit this thing, and I was also just kind of like, when you were hearing all these different people, from former opponents to his former manager, all these people saying, and some of them going beyond just saying Husmar Paul Harris would hold on to these submissions way too long, which we knew. We all remember, those of us who were around in this sport, we lived through that period. We remember how he used to do that. But some of them were like, he was a real piece of shit as a person. He was on crazy amounts of steroids. There was one allegation, I think, from Nate Marquardt that he saw Husmar going in to pee in the cup for the drug test, and he and his coach, who by then I think was Murilo Bustamante, were in there together in the stall. So we can kind of guess that what was going on there. And
they're smoking cigarettes.
And Alex Davis being like, yeah, he was kind of a weird guy, it's hard to get along with him, I got him this fight, he didn't pay me for it, all this kind of shit. I want to read you, though, my favorite quote. Alex Davis has a lot of great quotes, because Alex Davis as a manager who is in his way a pretty straight shooter for a manager, and will just kind of tell it to you like it is. He also at one point alleges that when they were trying to get Husmar out of his contract with what was then World Series of Fighting, later became PFL. And you remember Ali Abdelaziz, even though he was a manager for a bunch of these fighters, was in deep with them, and some would say maybe never totally stopped doing that. But he said that they were trying to get him out of the contract, and Ali Abdelaziz wanted him to pay $200,000 to get out, and he was just like, that scumbag. So Alex Davis really laying it all out here. My favorite quote, though, is he's talking about how it was a mistake for them to ever sign with the World Series of Fighting after Paul Harris got cut from the UFC. He says, quote, from the very beginning, when Husmar got cut from the UFC, I wanted to take him to Russia, because in Russia, they don't give a fuck. If he holds on too long, they'll applaud or they'll kill him. One or the other. That was the right place. Fighting in the WSOF was a big mistake. Now, I just want us to appreciate, one, that does seem accurate.
Mm-hmm.
That either the Russians would love him for doing that shit, or they would kill him. Like, he would be gunned down in the streets leaving the arena. But also that Alex Davis was kind of like, hey, either way, it comes to a resolution.
Is that your pitch to Paul Harris, do you think? If you're Alex Davis, you'd be like, kid, look, we're taking it over to Russia. They're going to love you there. If they don't, they'll kill you one way or another. We're going to find out.
By that point, because there was a sense that, hey, we've tried to talk to him about this shit, about heel hooking people and having the referee have to physically pry your arms off of them, and everybody getting really, really mad at you for it. Then tried to speak to him about it, tried to let him know, you got to quit doing this shit, and he didn't. And so I could see maybe the pitch to him being like, look, we're going to take a swing here. We're either going to find the one place where they will appreciate you for doing this, or your troubles are over. One way or another.
That sweet release of death.
He also, though, when you do get down to the part where you hear from Husmar, he remembers that Nate Marquardt fight. You remember that one where he went for his heel hook shit right in the beginning. Marquardt slipped out and then TKO'd him. And he seemed to be complaining to the ref. And at the time, we thought he was accusing Marquardt of being greased. And remember, Herb Dean even went over to ringside, got a paper towel, just like plain brown paper towel, like you'd get out of the dispenser at school, and dabbed it onto Marquardt's leg. And so it's like, no, there's no grease on there. He'd shaved it, but to help him slip out of there, but no grease. And then Husmar said what he was actually saying to the referee was that he heard Nate Marquardt make a noise of pain when he got him on and went for the leg lock, and he stopped because he had been told by the ref, like, oh, if somebody cries out in pain, I will consider that a submission, step in there. And that he stopped and looked over to the ref, and then he got knocked out. And he was like, my regret was that I showed mercy in that fight. And like, really, people were getting mad at me for like snatching those leg locks and really cranking them until I was sure it was over. And that's what I should have been doing. And I would have beat Nate Marquardt in that fight if I had done that.
Did we hear from Drake about what was it like to contact Paul Harris? You just call him on the phone, and we're like, hey man, I'm doing a story about how everyone thinks you're a piece of shit. Will you talk to me about it?
I have not heard from him on that part. It did seem like he talked to Paul Harris through an interpreter, but yeah, it would be, especially because it's like the story is like 8,000 words, and you don't hear from Paul Harris until like 6,000 words into it. And so I could imagine if maybe Paul Harris is not sitting there having somebody translate this thing for him, but if you were reading the story and you're like, I feel like I am a long way into this story, and all I've heard is other people saying Paul Harris is a piece of shit. When does my spirited defense of myself come in? And you get there eventually, and it is a good way to end on. But yeah, that was a crazy one to read. Especially a lot of people now probably have no idea about the bizarre saga of the man the internet would come to know as Paul Harris. But at the time, he was fucking notorious for that
Yeah.
shit, man. And it was so crazy to watch because you'd be like, okay, surely he won't do it again in one way or another. You're like, surely he won't be able to leg lock another person again because everybody knows that's his one fucking thing he's trying to do. And then if he does manage to do it, surely this time he won't hold on way, way too long and like tear out all their knee ligaments even after they've tapped because he's already gotten in trouble for it and been talked to about it many times. And then he would keep doing it. And you'd just be like, how is this fucking happening?
Oh, good times. Next question, last question this week comes to us from Marlo Stanfield's Pigeon Guy. So both a wire reference and somehow apropos to our earlier conversation about Nasruddin Imavov becoming the Raven guy. Did you see that The Rock got a standing ovation for the smashing machine at one of these film festival things? I don't know which one, but people said it was the same one where Brendan Fraser got the one for The Whale. Both men stood there and cried while people clapped. My questions are, what the hell, does this film festival just go bonkers for body transformations or something? Does this reception make you hopeful for the movie? Did you think The Whale was overrated? Because I did, especially after all that clapping and crying. So we're covering a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
From Marlo Stanfield's Pigeon Guy. I saw this video of The Rock standing there crying. This is at Venice. We're in the Venice Film Festival where, frankly,
Is that the same one with the whale? Because it did look exactly the same.
Know.
Honestly.
Like, how would I know? You think that I'm?
You saw that video, right?
Of
Brendan Fraser when he was crying and shit like that. Like people were clapping for him for like 15 minutes or whatever, and it almost seemed like they were not only at the same place but sitting in the same part of the theater. And so I was like, "Is this the internet saying that it's the same place?" But I saw the same thing where it was just like people being like, same shit as happened with Brendan Fraser. And Rock did the thing that everybody does where he's standing there, everybody's clapping for you, it keeps going on, it's awkward, and he's wiping away tears and everything. But it's also weird to watch him do because like in your brain is still going, this is The Rock, this is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I've seen Dwayne The Rock Johnson in movies. It's hard for me to imagine he's going to show up in this one and it's going to be the kind of shit that brings a film festival audience to their feet for, an extended standing ovation. But I guess, holding out. Come on, man.
Are you trying to say The Rock is no Dave Bautista?
He's not Bautista. He's not Cena. He's not even John Cena. He's below both those guys in the wrestler to acting pedigree.
Remember when he was in what was it? Was he in Get Shorty? He was in like the Elmore Leonard movie really early on.
Get Shorty.
Yeah, he was good in that. Cool. He was good in that.
Was he though?
My recollection is that he was. He got good reviews from it. It's like one of the jumping off points for his acting career.
He's chewing the scenery a little bit in that
one. This was in Venice. From what I saw from The Rock's Instagram, it looked like he was having an emotional time the whole time he was in Venice, because I saw a video that he had taken of himself while he was on one of those canal boats.
You got to do that. Got to do the canal boat.
And it seemed like he was going on and on about what a wonderful experience it was and how it was like a really personal thing for him. He'd never been to Venice before, which I was like, really? The Rock never been to Venice before? But he's out there on the canal boat, and then you see the video of him at the film festival crying. And look, I'm not going to disparage The Rock's acting in such a pointed and disrespectful way as you did. But I will say, I have a hard time believing the Smashing Machine is good, man. It just doesn't seem like it could be good, And granted, you and I are both coming at it from the MMA fan perspective, where we are like, we already watched this exact movie. Yeah. It had the same name. It was about Mark Kerr, the same exact story. It just happened to be the documentary version. Why did we do this again? Why did we dramatize this? the answer is that Dwayne probably can greenlight whatever he wants at this point. That's how you get this movie made. But as an MMA fan, I'm just looking at this thing and I'm thinking, why would I watch this? Why did we make it? We've already seen it. I don't believe that it's going to be good. I am almost most interested to see Ryan Bader play Mark Coleman. But it's just, I don't know. So I don't even want to see it. I'm sitting over here. I feel total disinterest with even watching.
We're gonna see it.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to see it. I'm not sitting here acting like I wouldn't watch it if not for the fact that you and I are going to have to watch it and talk about it at some point.
I mean, I'm curious. So I'll say that. And look, I'm not saying The Rock is a bad actor.
You said that already. You did. You said it.
I don't think he's a great actor. What I think he is mostly the same over and over again. And there's the kind of performance he can do. There's a home for that in a lot of movies. I enjoyed the shit out of The Rock's performance in Jumanji.
Yeah.
The Rock and Kevin Hart in Jumanji. My kids love that movie. That's the kind of shit that The Rock seems like he is well positioned to do. And so when you're like, he's going to be in this dramatic role playing a person who exists and we have a good recollection of what that person is like. I'll say in the trailers, he does look and sound an awful lot like Mark Kerr. And so I'm like, all right, I'm impressed you're able to do that because it is him doing a different thing. But everything about the trailers also led me to believe that you were doing a shot-by-shot remake of the documentary. And why? Why would we do that? I don't know if you have tried to go back and watch the documentary recently. It has mysteriously vanished.
Oh, really?
You can't find it. Like, you can't even find it to buy it somewhere. It's like somebody trying to sell you a DVD copy for like $300 on the internet somewhere. Like, you can't find it to stream it anywhere. And I'm like, I want to get a little conspiracy-ish on you.
Are we talking conspiracies?
But that makes me wonder what's really going on.
Did The Rock disappear, the Smashing Machine documentary?
I don't know.
We talked to the guy who made it that one time, right?
Yeah.
Didn't we have him on? We had him on like doing the damn thing on the Patreon at one point.
Yeah.
Wonder what he thinks. I wonder where he's at on this. Do you think he got some hush money? Think he got a fat check to make the Smashing Machine disappear?
We should reach out and find out. Honestly, I'm curious now.
I guess we are going to watch it. I don't know. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. Maybe it'll blow our.
Maybe it will. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's try to go in with as open a mind as possible. And try.
I don't necessarily think it's going to be terrible, right? It's just, I just have the feeling where I'm like, why would I saw that already.
Because you want to see Ryan Bader as Mark Coleman.
I do want to see that. He better get a Best Supporting Actor nom.
You want to see Boss Rutan as Boss Rutan?
Only one man could play El Guapo.
That's the damn truth.
All right, that's going to do it for listener mail this week. If you have a question, comment, or concern that you would like to air to the podcast in future weeks, you know how to do it. You go to the website, co-mainevent.com, and click the link at the top right-hand corner of the screen that says email the podcast. That'll get you in touch with us right now. Man, Jon Jones got those charges dropped.
Oh, boy.
Jon Jones, free man, walking around free. We'll talk about that right after this. All right, Ben, I am reading from the story by Alexander K. Lee over on MMA Fighting. He writes, Jon Jones is no longer facing misdemeanor charges after recently being accused of leaving the scene of an accident in New Mexico. The charges have been dropped and dismissal paperwork has been filed, according to Jones's attorney, Christopher Dodd, who released a statement to Sportsnet on Tuesday. Jones was scheduled for a bench trial appearance Tuesday afternoon in New Mexico, but the state filed some kind of Latin. There's a Latin word in here, nole proseque. I don't know. I'm not going to nailed it.
Wife's a lawyer, man.
She's not here. She's at work.
In conversation.
She's at work.
You
Making
should
those big
try
bucks
listening
for
when
the
she talks
family.
at dinner sometimes, maybe don't
Sh-
just tune out.
She's not that kind of lawyer.
You're looking
Um,
over her shoulder at the TV for latest on the Tarleton State game.
oh, they did beat Army this weekend. God, good win for them, for the Texans. MMA Fighting's Damon Martin acquired it, and it goes on. Anyway, we've dropped the charges against Jon Jones. Apparently, the state thought, quote, they have reason to believe the defendant's alibi is credible. The state therefore dismisses this matter. So everyone recalls this, right?
Yeah.
A woman
Yep.
pulled over with no pants on, said Jon Jones was driving her car. He was in the car. He called him. I don't see a reference in this story to when he called the police and told him that
I
that
think maybe
he's got those shooters in these streets.
I mean, that was the part I was wondering. Like, we dropped that part, the leaving the scene of the accident misdemeanor. What about the using the telephone to threaten, harass, terrorize, or annoy? That very broad statute that it seemed like they had in New Mexico, because it did seem like we were hearing him do that part on the body cam footage. What they're saying, though, is that maybe the police came around. It seems like they're saying it based on looking at cell phone data. They then decided maybe he wasn't there at all, which the cell phone data search warrant was one of the things his lawyer objected to in the first place, said he never seen something like this. And it's now we're saying maybe that part exonerated him. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was that shored up the alibi. But if what you're saying is this woman got herself into a DUI crash, then moved over to the passenger seat and blamed it all on Jon Jones, and the police went for it, may we all have such presence of mind should we ever find ourselves in that situation to blame it on Jon Jones, especially in Albuquerque, because if you blame the police show up on the scene and you'd be like, hey, look, officer, I know how it looks. It wasn't me. It was Jon Jones. They're going to be like, we know who Jon Jones is. We're familiar. He is known to us. And they're going to be ready to believe you, especially if it's a vehicular type of mishap. They're going to be like, oh, yeah. No, honestly, we get one of these calls, we're already laying odds on whether it's going to be Jon Jones when we get there. So maybe that is just a genius legal strategy on her part.
We would all also be blessed to have an attorney that defends us as vigorously as Christopher Dodd defends Jon Jones. Here's his statement. We have been fully vindicated. From the beginning, we explained that a woman made a false allegation against Jones in an effort to avoid being arrested for DWI, and unfortunately, the police accepted that claim without properly weighing the facts. Once the relevant documents were finally disclosed by the police department, Jones's cell phone records made it undeniably clear that he was nowhere near the scene of the crash. We are grateful that the district attorney's office took the time to conduct a full and fair review of this case, which ultimately confirmed Jon's innocence. At the same time, it is deeply troubling that such critical evidence was disregarded, forcing Jon to endure this ordeal unnecessarily. Our investigation into how this occurred remains ongoing. I can't wait to hear the results of that investigation.
Yeah. Did we get a timeline for when that one's going to drop?
Jon Jones, he's out here looking for the real killer.
He's saying, I'm not out of order. You're out of order. I'm going to investigate you guys.
You got to have if you're Jon Jones, you got to have an attorney who acts like you are not already a known piece of shit. Right?
Yeah. Well, and it's probably not that hard to find an attorney like that, because he knows representing Jon Jones in criminal matters is steady goddamn work. You do a good job, make sure you're just over the top attack dog for this guy, and he keeps you on. There'll be a next time. Your services will be called upon again in the future. So you want to remain his guy in this regard. And that's the words Jon Jones is going to want to hear are stuff like fully vindicated. He declared himself fully vindicated in that thing with the drug tester, even when they just like reached a plea agreement kind of thing. So no surprise here. Can't wait to hear the results of the investigation and where we go from there.
I do
I'm gonna
want
put
to
a
find
calendar
out.
alert to call up this lawyer in 3 months and be like, so where are we at on that investigation?
I am curious to know about the other charge of using the phone to harass, annoy, or make terrorist threats or whatever it was, because that one he seemed to be guilty of on video. There seemed to be a body cam video from a police officer of Jon Jones using a telephone to make threats to this officer. That would seem to be the more difficult one to get out of.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, if we're being like frank with ourselves, it's not like any of us were sitting around being like, Jon Jones is looking at jail time for this shit. Jon Jones has too much money to go to jail for some shit like this. He got enough people that he can throw in the way of him and the legal system so that that's not going to happen. The thing was, the timing of this, the way it came out, made it seem like Jon Jones was never going to do that Tom Aspinall fight. This was happening while we were being told that, yeah, he's totally going to fight Tom Aspinall. He came off looking bad in the thing. He still comes off looking bad because we can still hear his voice immediately telling the guy, I'll have people kill you, and you're not the first person I've threatened this year. Like, and going straight there in the conversation, not even like a lead up or like a lot of chit chat beforehand, just going directly to that. So it's not like this changes anybody's real opinion about who Jon Jones is or what he might be up to in between fights. So yeah, I mean, it makes your legal troubles go away, but as far as how it plays in the public perception of Jon Jones, I'm not sure that it changes much.
At least now we know his phone was at his house the whole time. So he's been vindicated.
Thank God.
This is some shit Jon Jones would do, though. That's the thing. Like, nobody can blame us. If he is indeed innocent of this charge, no one can really blame us for thinking he did it, because he's done this almost exact kind of thing before. Like, this fits the profile, the forensic profile that we've compiled on Jon Jones in our office.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention before we get out of here, Chad, did you hear that they have solidified what will be the final Apex event under the ESPN banner before we make this big transition? We're, I think finishing the year over there at the Apex. Let me make sure I'm right about this. I think it is the card that will be scheduled for December 13th, UFC Fight Night 266. And it looks like we're going to finish up ESPN middle of December with an Apex event headlined by Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape, which, don't that just say it? Ain't that just a hell of a way to end up? Apex event headlined by good flyweights who, as soon as you hear their names, you go, have they fought 3-4 times already? Is this the first time? Who knows? But it's almost kind of a perfect ending for the whole ESPN thing.
This Paramount thing will be at the UFC's 4th broadcast deal, right? Because they were on Spike, then they went to Fox, then they went to ESPN, and now they're moving on to Paramount. I will just point out, none of those previous 3 marriages ended amicably. None of them. They've all at some point worn out their welcome and gotten crosswise with their broadcast partner. So it's not surprising to me to see them half-ass it down the stretch, even though Dana White's still got pay-per-views to sell. It's not surprising that they're going to, let's not say send their best people for these last few fight nights.
We only have 3 pay-per-views left to sell, I believe. Or no, 4. You
still got to sell them. Pay-per-view's not dead, Ben. We still got pay-per-views to sell.
We also now, though, are including, if you look at Wikipedia, where it has a list of upcoming UFC events, and it'll, as we usually get to by this point in the year, where the rest of the calendar year schedule is pretty laid out, and then it jumps ahead to July 4th, 2026, UFC White House.
Well, that's the only other thing we got on the schedule, right?
We got it on the books.
Oh. All right, that's going to do it this week for the Co-Main Event podcast. Thanks to everyone for listening. We're over on the Patreon page all week. Tomorrow, with the live chat, Thursday with doing the damn thing, and then Friday with the power hour to get you set up for this weekend's fights. Check us out over there, patreon.com/co-main event. Get in the door for as little as $3 a month, which is nothing. Spend more than that at Starbucks for one cup of coffee.
Spend more than that walking down the street.
Patreon.com/co-main event. If we don't see you over there, we'll see you back here next week. We appreciate the support. As for right now, we're done. We are through. We are out.
Also, the UFC White House thing has a quote from Donald Trump on the Wikipedia page. Does anybody watch UFC? The great Dana White. We're going to have a UFC fight on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. Dana's going to do it. Dana's great. One of a kind. We're going to have a UFC fight, a championship fight, like full fight, 20, 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We got a lot of land there.
You can tell me you're gonna get 25,000 on the grounds of the White House? I don't think
anybody watch UFC? These comments were made during a rally at the Iowa State Fairgrounds.
Of course they were.